Legend of the Eight Samurai is a movie that I've never seen before, but I wish I had because I would have loved it as a child even more than I loved it watching it a week ago for the first time. It's a Kinji Fukusatsu film, and it's the first one of his, I believe, that I've ever seen, and it won't be the last because I've discovered I have a couple of his other movies on Blu-ray. And this movie is amazing. It's a fantasy, sword play, sorcery, practical effects, wire work, all kinds of awesomeness, and I can't recommend it highly enough. It stars Hiroku Yakushimaro as the princess, who in this plot is very similar to Star Wars or The Hidden Fortress, where the princess has to avenge her family by rounding up the eight samurai who are given special powers from a princess that she's descended from. It's a very fantastical story. What's cool about it is each one of these eight samurai has their own little sub-story going on. Some of them aren't as fleshed out as others, but they're all pretty neat that they have their own kind of backgrounds coming into it. The real show stealer is Mari Natsuki as Tamazusa, the evil queen who's trying to evoke this spirit thing to take over the castle. It's all goofy fantasy, awesome stuff. And I'm really glad that I found out about this movie and was able to grab the Blu-ray that just came out from Eureka Entertainment. It's definitely a jewel in my collection. Next, we have It Stains the Sands Red, a high-concept zombie film from 2016. Stars Brittany Allen as Molly, a prostitute trying to escape a zombie apocalypse in Las Vegas with her boyfriend. And right in the beginning of the movie, you are introduced to the concept of this film, which is that there's one zombie and one survivor, which is Molly. Molly is trying to make it to an airfield where she thinks she will be able to escape with some other survivors. And you find out throughout the story a little bit about Molly's past. I enjoyed this movie. It's definitely got its haters. Some people love it. The actress does a great job making an unlikable character likable, where you're rooting for her by the end. This isn't some crazy, like, oh, you really must see this movie. It revolutionizes the zombie genre. But I thought it was pretty cool. It has some good effects, some really gross parts, and characters making stupid decisions and also smart ones. So, I don't know. I liked it. Next, we have The Rain Women, an experimental film directed by Shinobu Yaguchi from 1990. It's the story of two women living in the Japanese countryside, just doing stuff. It's kind of one of those like meditative experimental movies where there is a little bit of a plot and there's some fun to be had. But a lot of this movie is just these long, drawn out scenes that are almost ASMR like. You could tell the sound effects were recorded over the film. There's a long scene of the two girls just brushing their teeth. There's another really long scene that I particularly liked, a shot of them walking through a tunnel where it gets darker and then gradually lighter. It's definitely a weird film. It's short. It's not too long to sit through, about an hour long. So if you can find it, it might be in your wheelhouse if you like the weird stuff. Oblivion is a good one. So I watch movies every day, and I'm watching just tons of movies because that's the hyperfixation I have right now. That's the rabbit hole that I'm in. One day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be sick of movies and I'm going to stop watching them for a little while, or I won't watch nearly as many. But the reason I watch so many damn movies is because I'm looking for the ones that will dazzle me, that will blow me away, that I watch them and I give it a 5 stars on first watch because I was just so excited for every single second of the movie. And Oblivion is one of those. It's a sci-fi feature from 2013 starring Tom Cruise and Andrea Riseborough. I had never heard of this film until I watched a YouTube video about how some of the props were built practically. And while there is CGI used in the film, they actually built the ship that Tom Cruise flies around in. It was a real life prop that they built and used in camera. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I should buy this movie on Blu-ray. So I put it in my Amazon cart and I said, wow, that cover looks pretty familiar. So I looked on my shelf and I actually already owned this movie on Blu-ray. So a couple days later I watched it. And like I said, it was a pretty perfect movie in my opinion. It reminds me of Godzilla -1 in a lot of ways, not in plot or structure, but just in the way that everything that's on the screen has a purpose. It has just a perfect flow from beat to beat story wise, and the acting in it is impeccable from everybody. And this is the second movie I've seen with Andrea Riseborough, and I can't believe what a chameleon she is, because in Possessor, boy, they made her look really haggard and unattractive, quite frankly. But in Oblivion, she's gorgeous. She's just, everything in this movie is gorgeous, and she fits the part. So this movie doesn't rank super highly on Letterboxd. Not everybody has the same feelings about it that I do. Some people dismiss it as just your run-of-the-mill sci-fi flick, but this one really touched me for some reason, and I can't wait to watch it again. Next is You're Next. So this is an accidental rewatch. I follow a gentleman named Mr. Cooper's Video on Twitter. I've talked about him before, and his avatar used to be the mask from You're Next. And I thought, that movie looks cool. I've heard about that movie. So I bought the Blu-ray and I watched it the other day, and I said, oh man, I've seen this movie before. So I had totally forgotten about it. It's kind of a home invasion action horror with plot twists and turns and everything. A really cool final girl character kind of fighting back against the intruders. Has a little cameo from Ty West in the beginning. It's a pretty cool movie. I think this movie, I can't prove this, but I feel like it did kind of kick off the kind of action horror thing that we see with movies like Ready or Not and Abigail. This feels to me like one of the early ones of those, and if you like those movies, you'll probably like this one. Next is Repo Chick. This movie ruled, and I'm not even the biggest Alex Cox fan. I don't even really love the movie Repo Man. I thought it was fine. I watched it with my wife like last year, and we both enjoyed it, thought it was pretty cool. But it didn't make me want to run out and buy the Criterion Blu-ray. However, when I saw Repo Chick, read some of the reviews about it, I said, I'm going to check this one out. I bought the Blu-ray, and I loved the movie. It was so stupid, so great. Jacqueline Jonay is an absolute goddess, a smoke show of a woman that stars as the titular character, and the plot is that she is estranged from her family and cut out of their will. She plays this like Paris Hilton-esque character, so she has to get a job in order to be brought back into the will and the inheritance of the family. It's all stupid, but the job, she becomes a repo chick. She becomes a repo person, a repo man, a repo chick, and she's really good at it. So the funny thing about it is she plays this archetype of a spoiled rich girl, but then when she gets a job, she actually kicks ass at it. And I think that's really cool, really funny. The costumes in this are great. The whole movie is filmed on green screen. It looks like a freaking like a weird kids show in a way. And honestly, it's one of those movies I loved, and it's hard to recommend because the average person isn't going to get out of this what I took out of it. So proceed with caution. Maybe if you've seen Repo Man, Boy, if you actually really loved Repo Man, you might hate this because it's nothing like Repo Man. So again, proceed with caution. I am going to make a YouTube video of movies I love that I can't recommend, and this might be one of them. Next is Zoology. This is a movie that really nicely took me out of my comfort zone. I didn't know what to expect. I blind bought this Blu-ray based on the concept of it, which is a woman one day unexpectedly grows a tail. So that's intriguing enough, right? What is really neat about this movie is that it's a middle-aged woman. She grows a tail, and it is treated as something that is completely unremarkable by anybody who sees it, except for when it appears unexpectedly. So what I'm saying is, for example, she goes to the doctor, they try to take an x-ray of it, the x-ray doesn't go successfully, so they send her back to get another x-ray. She goes back to the doctor and she eventually wants to have surgery to have it removed. That's what's implied, but they just keep screwing up the x-ray, and there's no moment of, wow, you're growing a tail, holy shit, you have a tail. It's just like, oh, it's treated as very mundane, and it's treated as very unremarkable. The director, Ivan Trudovsky, meant the tail to represent people's individuality. In many ways, I had a hard time reconciling that metaphor as I watched through the movie. I was really trying to wrap my head around what was trying to be said here. And in the end, I ended up not really connecting with this movie. I'm glad I sat through it, but in the end, it's not going to stay in my collection. I think this is a one and done for me. I think a lot of people are really going to like it if they see it, but it just wasn't really for me. So that was Zoology. Next, we have The Final Cut, starring Robin Williams. This is 2004 sci-fi movie recommended by the YouTube channel 80s Made recently. And this is a movie that is streaming on Kanopy, which is a streaming service that is new to me because yesterday my wife and I went to our local library for a library sale, and we ended up signing up for library cards. And they told us, well, now that you're a member, you have access to Kanopy. And I said, okay, cool. So I signed up for Kanopy, and holy smokes, they have a really deep catalog and a lot of good stuff on there. So I said, let's pick something on here. And we ended up watching The Final Cut based on that recommendation I had seen on YouTube. And it's a pretty cool movie. It's about Robin Williams plays this character who has he's what's called a cutter. And in this world, there's this technology where you have an implant that records your whole life through your eyes. So it's very Black Mirror. And I know Black Mirror is shorthand for any speculative fiction, like Black Mirror equals speculative fiction. So we should really say it's speculative fiction rather than just calling everything Black Mirror. Robin Williams' job is to edit the people's files after they die and then present their life as like a movie at their funeral. It's pretty neat. It's a concept that I saw on Letterboxd. A lot of people were like, who would ever sign up for this? And I'll tell you what, tons of people would. People sign up for stupid shit constantly. We give up our privacy all the time. So I didn't find this premise to be implausible at all. Mira Sorvino is in it. James Caviezel is in it. Some knocks against the movie is how cheap it looks. It's only filmed in a few different locations. The props look really good, but then James Caviezel has this fake beard for the whole movie. It looks like absolute shit. And some other guy has a wig that looks terrible. The end of the movie comes quite abruptly. And I saw people saying that it really doesn't wrap up the story. It could have gone longer. I just feel like it ends abruptly and you're just kind of hoping, you find yourself hoping that what you think happened after the credits rolled. It's not to say it's like super ambiguous, but it's just strange the way it actually ended. But a cool older sci-fi, and if you like Robin Williams and his more serious roles, you will enjoy this one. And last but not least, this morning I watched Saint Maud. I actually watched it twice because the second time I watched it through with the director's commentary on the Blu-ray. So Saint Maud is about a young woman who is a nurse, like a palliative care nurse, and she's a devout, zealous Christian. It's actually kind of a symptom or a cover for deep mental troubles. And I wonder, is this movie anti-Christian in a sense that it conflates mental illness with Christianity or vice versa? I'm not sure. I don't think it was very maliciously made. After listening to the director's commentary, I didn't get the impression that she was trying to make an anti-Christian film. I mean, you could view any religious horror as anti-Christian. It's just weird that all religious horror is about Christianity. It's kind of weird if you think about it, right? But this movie's pretty decent. As you can see, I gave it 3 stars. I really like the acting in it, the mood, the tone. There's good music. It was a nice package of a movie. I don't know what else to say except that it might be a little bit overrated in the YouTube space. A lot of people put this on their best A24 movies, best movies of this year, best movies of the past 5 years. I see it a lot on YouTube, and that's why I bought it on Blu-ray, and it will stay in the collection. I liked it enough to keep it, but I think it's a tad overrated. But that's my last movie for today, and I appreciate you hanging out with me as I review movies, and I'll see you on the next video.